Content creators, if you want to get an extra 20% of view time on your uploads, check out this video. I'm going to show you how you can easily create your own background music to go with your video. A lot of you are just presenting directly to the camera with no background music, and that's okay. But if you want 10 to 20% longer viewer retention, this is the video for you. Now, some of you might want to add stock music, and that's going to put a lot of pop-up ads on your videos when you upload them. And you don't have control over that because that's what the stock music is doing for you. And then some of you might try to use copyrighted music, but then you get a flag, or it's just gonna also put the ads on your video. So this tutorial will show you how you can easily create your own background music, and I'm going to show you how to do that on a program called GarageBand, which most of you already have if you have a Mac with this software already installed, and the software is not that expensive if you need to get it. And you know what? You don't even have to have one of these fancy plug-in keyboards to do it. I'm going to show you how you can do it with the keyboard that's built into your laptop or computer. So you're opening your GarageBand program, and you're going to click on Empty Project. This is going to be a lot of fun. You're going to want to click on Software Instrument. If you've got your plug-in keyboard, great. They could be anywhere from $100 or more. If not, you're going to get this musical typing keyboard that pops up. And I'll tell you a little secret, maybe stay on these white keys, A through L. And that's going to let you make more harmonious sounds, positive, happy, upbeat. And if you're going for a different sound, you'll have to be a little creative. So you want to pick a sound to start with. So scroll through your library here on the left. Right? And then you're going to want to have a beat and a tempo to play along to. So your tempo is default at 120 beats per minute. Let's bring that down to, let's say, 100 to slow it down and make it easier for you. You also have a metronome here that'll play back. I suggest keeping that on so you can play in time with your metronome. Okay, and then if you play out of time, we're going to have a solution for that in a few minutes here called quantizing. And then what else you could do is bring up a drum track right away so you can play along with some fancy drums, and you don't have to know how to play the drums. You're just going to go to track on the top, new track, and then you're going to click on drummer, create. And now it's going to load a separate track here. So you have your first track, which is going to be your melody in a few minutes here. And then you have your drummer track. So let's hit the space bar and play that back. So that sounds pretty fun. Now, if you got that, you don't need a metronome. But this just gives you a way to have a beat to play along to as you're going to type in some notes. And let's loop this a little bit longer. And let's just say you're going to do a short video that's only about, let's just say 30 seconds long, and you want some music for that. Okay, so now we've got our drums, and we're going to hit the record button, and we're going to start just punching on these white notes and figuring out something that sounds pleasant. So if I go to this bells track that we chose, actually, let's choose the Wurlitzer. All right. So you want to figure out something that sounds fun. And I just got something. So I'm doing A, D, H, G, which on your piano would be a C, an E, an A, and a G. Okay, but don't worry about all that. Let's hit the record button, and we're going to start playing some notes. And we're going to do a count in. Go to record. Go to count in and make sure it's on 1 or 2 bars so you have a beat before you start playing. You'll see what I mean in a moment here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That was easy for me. It might not be so easy for you. If you made a mistake, you can just highlight this and delete it. But I like what I just did, so I'm going to undo that delete. And I'm going to show you now. We can close this musical typing for now. We can bring it up later if we need it. And we're going to widen out our view here by pulling on this slider. And we're going to go and we're going to have some fun now looking at our notes on the Wurlitzer. So if you double click this green region, it's going to bring up all your notes. Okay, so now that I can see all my notes here, I want to make sure that they're in sync with the beat. So I'm looking here at what I'm doing on my screen. They're pretty well timed. And you can also look at a musical score if that's something you want to do. But if you're not good with music notation, just stay on the piano roll. And let's see if my note is it's a little bit off of the starting mark. So this green line is where the song starts. So I want to pull this note over so it's synced up there. And the other notes look pretty well in sync. So I'm not even worried about the timing. But let's just say your notes were off a lot. You can do something called quantize. And this is where it helps to have some musical theory. But every bar here has 4 quarter notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 when you're in a 4/4 count. So what that means is if your notes were way off, like this, you played out of time, then you can do something like this. You can highlight your notes. You can go to time quantize and you can choose quarter note. Now look what it does. It pops them over. So now I'm playing half notes here. And if you're not familiar with what that's what they look like, but just to make it easy, if I want to make sure these notes are all in sync exactly on the beat, I would go to half note and then it moves the notes right where they need to be. Does that make sense? And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to loop that section by grabbing on the end of the region here, and you'll see the cursor change from either this loop thing or this extend thing. If I extend it, the notes don't come with it. And it's just giving me more space to add more notes. But I just want to loop it. So I'm doing that circular thing, and I'm going to loop the region out. And then let's see how much time this is taking so far. Okay, so if I check on my time here, I go from beats and project, which is the default, showing you your measures and what bar you're on. I can go here to time and see how much time it's taking. So that's 30 seconds. That's plenty for the short little demo video that we're doing. And I go back to beats and project just so I can stay organized here. And I got my melody and I've got a drum beat. Now you can also put some variety in your drum beat. If you want to do that, I'm going to show you some basic stuff here. If you press split region, or what this would mean is you're clicking on your track here and your region is highlighted, and you press Command T, that cuts that in half, right? So now I can separate these regions. And I can alter the beat by playing around down here with the drum beat. Maybe I want it to be more simple and soft. I can go down here and that just changes the whole sound of the drums. And then when it gets to here, it's going to be a little more complex. And I can also add toms if I want to change it from a hi-hat and a cymbal. So you can play around with that. You can make it more complex or more loud. You can split the region again by pressing Command T, and then you could, let's just say you want to make it increasingly more complex. So you'll start simple, maybe we'll start simple and soft, and then what we'll do is we're going to make this get a little more interesting as it goes. So we split it again, Command T, we highlight this one. Let's drag the slider up to here. And we've just got it on a kick drum, a snare, and a hi-hat. And then here we want it to be a little more interesting. So watch how this blue dot moves, or the yellow dot I mean moves as we progress here. I'll put it up here, and at the end let's make it even louder and more complex. All right, and now we've got our melody, we've got our drums, got some simple pleasant background music, and we're going to add bass. So we're going to go to track and to do new track, or you can also do Command N, and we're going to keep it on the keyboard here because we don't have a real bass guitar. I'm assuming you don't have a real bass guitar to plug in. So now we're going to go to search sounds, type in bass, and you got a lot of choices here to choose from. Let's try, what's this one? Busy Art Bass. You're just going to have to click on things and experiment. We're going to bring up our musical typing again. You can press Command K for musical typing. So that's Command K. Now this is a fun bass because you hold down the note and it keeps thumping that for you. Keeps hitting the note for you. So that could be interesting. And let me give you a secret. Try to play almost the same notes you did on your melody with your bass. So let's record and see what we get. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So now we got some bass in there, and all I did was I kept it simple. I stayed with the root of the chords that I was in. You don't have to know what that means. And if that's too complicated for you to even add the bass, just keep it with your piano sound and your drum sound. And I'm going to show you how to sweeten this up by adding some reverb in a moment here. But let's check our bass notes. I'm going to double click the region we want to see if our bass notes are hitting in sync. And they're just a little bit off here. They're not quite on the line. If you look closely, you can see that they're not quite on the beat. And I want to do that so it sounds clean. It's going to almost sound perfect. So I'm going to hit quantize. There it goes. And you just saw the notes move over a little bit. And if you want to play with the sound that you're putting in, you can also double click on this gray zone here, and it'll pop up some controls for you. So you can have some fun with that. This sound here, thin buzz, it sounds a little too high pitched, a little too like staticky. I want the bass to sound like bass, so let's try putting it over here and see what we get. Maybe too much. I think I'll keep it right here. And you know what else you can do? If your bass is too loud and it's drowning out your melody, see the volume here? It's hitting yellow and this is in green. We're going to go ahead and we're going to open up our volume controls. So to do that, you'll double click on this track that you want to be on, and you're going to press just the letter A on your keyboard. Now we've got some options to change the volume. See this volume here and this gray line? I want to activate that, so I'm going to click on the track. Now I've got a volume bar. I can slide it up or down. Let's bring that down about 3 decibels. And let's activate our volume for the other ones in case we want to change that. So maybe we'll just keep this as a dominant, the bass is the dominant sound here. Maybe we'll just keep it that way. And we're going to stretch this out so it makes that full 30 or 38 seconds that we had. And then let's see if we like our Wurlitzer sound the way it is, or if we want to change that up a little bit. And I can solo it by clicking on the headphones. That mutes the other track. So now I'm only going to hear my Wurlitzer. You can experiment with how this is going to sound a little bit. That sounds fun with some phaser on there, doesn't it? And if you add some reverb, reverb always kind of sweetens up your sound. It makes it sound a little more full. That's great. We might want to put some reverb on our drums too. Or you could change the tone of the drums, like you're playing in different shaped rooms. So you can play with that as well for your drum sounds. Maybe you want your snare to sound louder. You can click and turn that up. Turn up our toms a little. All right. So now, and it doesn't have to sound perfect. The more you do this, the better you're going to get. So now you have, in just a few minutes, we've made an interesting sounding track here. And I'm going to show you a few little secrets to really sweeten it up. You don't have to do this, but if you go down to Show Master Track, your master track has some options on how you can make the sound. You can do some play with an equalizer. This is like intermediate to advanced level training, but let's go ahead and look at this a little bit before we export our project. You want to click on your analyzer. Now with your analyzer, you're going to see which frequencies are coming out the most. So with my Wurlitzer, I'm getting a lot of frequencies in this range here between 2000 and 100 Hertz. Maybe I'd like to bring it up here a little bit. So I'll click this green, bring that up a little. So I want to hear more of more treble in my Wurlitzer, and I want to hear more bass in my bass. So notice I've had this track selected. Now I'm going to have my bass track selected. And if that's too much to do to individually move this around, you can also click here. And you can go down to a setting for guitar, because a bass is a guitar. I could do like a bass boost equalizer. Now it's going to raise the frequencies on the low end. Let's solo that out and hear it. That's pretty good. If I want to cut off my high frequencies, I'm going to do that here, just because I really want the bass. I want to hear all the bass and less of the high frequency. Great, that sounds wonderful. Now maybe I'll do an equalizer setting for my drums. Oh, I think they already came with a default equalizer setting. But you can also just go in here and click on something you like, maybe punchy kick or refresh drums. Let's try that. Okay, not bad. My drums are coming through a little loud. You can see that. I want to bring the volume down on my drums just a little. Let's see how that goes. Bring it down a few decibels. Great. Now, I don't want it to sound monotonous, do I? Why don't we make the second half of this sound a little different? So what we can do here is, remember how we did Command T and we split the region? So I have this track selected, Command T. Now I'll click on this region, double click. We'll look at my notes here. Interesting. Something you can do, you can highlight all these notes and you can move them up or down a whole octave. So you have the same notes just on a different octave. So my first note there was a C on C2. Let's raise this all the way up to C1, or C3, excuse me. C1 would be lower. Now let's see how this sounds. So this is kind of a pleasant song, like maybe you're playing with the kids at the park or something like that. It's kind of an upbeat, happy sound, right? And once you export this, we'll have about a 30-second track, and then once you put this into your video editor, you can loop it as many times as you want. Completed our little 30-second ditty. Ditty's a word for a song, not talking about P. Diddy. It means a short song. Okay, and now remember I talked about master track settings, how we can make some changes there as well. If you want to brighten up the song, flip this switch here. That's also called the exciter. You might not want to play with this too much in the beginning. Let's just say this is like a pop song. So we're going to do an automatic EQ setting. But what else I'm going to show you is something I like. When I go to my output here, I like to use a compressor setting called Studio. So I'm going to go into Compressor Tools. I'm going to do Platinum Orchestral. I like this one a lot. It makes it sound like it was done in a professional studio. Just sounds more full, sounds amazing. And you want your master audio to be hitting just barely on the red. That's going to give it a full sound. It's not going to sound like the volume's too low when you export it. When you export it, there's a little bit of compression, so it's not peaking too much. So when you play it back, try to get it so it's at the very top of this volume bar, just barely tapping on the red. You don't want a lot of red, then it's going to be what we call peaking or fry. That's great. And then you also have this this pointer over here at the end. You want to slide this back, because this is going to cut off where your song cuts off. If I put it right here, it would cut off abruptly in the middle of the song. Let's put it right over here. And you know what? Let's put a little reverb on the entire thing. Slide this over, put a little echo on it. I'll slide this over, put a little reverb on it. Not too much, or it'll sound kind of crazy. Unless you want to go for something like that that has a lot of echo, it maybe sounds... Sounds good. Great. So there it is. It's all done. That's a simple 30-second song. Now we're going to export it so it goes, I'm going to export it to the desktop so then I can use it in a video editor. So we'll go to Share, Export Song to Disk. This is going to print a file for you, either MP3 or WAV. WAV is very high quality. MP3 is a little more lower quality, a little more compressed, but it's still going to sound just fine for using in a basic video. Now, the bigger your project, the longer it's going to take to export. So it's already done. All right, everyone, so now we've made a quick 30-second song that you can use as background audio for any of your uploads where you're speaking directly to camera, or maybe you're taking the kids to the park for like a family getaway. And the beautiful part of this is now that belongs to you. You can copyright it if you want, but the best part is when you use it, YouTube's going to consider that to be original audio, so will Instagram and other platforms, so no one else can claim copyright, which might diminish your reach of your video. No one else can run distracting ads on your video. And so just use this process in the future and be creative. Try other drum kits if you want. Try different sounds if you like, and see what you can come up with. Now remember, when you put this into your project, in your video project, maybe on Final Cut or CapCut, use a good pair of headphones so you can hear that your speaking voice is more dominant than the background music. Does that make sense? All right, everyone, thanks a lot for being here. Give it a like, share, and a subscribe if this helped you out. Thanks for being a part of my channel, and make it a great day. Stay tuned.